PA's off.
All right. Do you think I'm getting on the speakers?
Somebody's volume's up on their phone.
All right. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining the Highlands Commerce Guild on their annual meeting, and cannot thank you enough for your service and your continued putting up with what I would feel are aggravating times. Would glad to hear a little bit update about, we know that your journey's going in a different direction, but Louisville has received a tremendous amount of dollars, and I believe you had a hand in that. So please, how about bringing us up to date to where you're at?
Well, thanks. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you once again. As I'm now a lame duck, I'm glad that it's nice to know that somebody still wants to hear from me. I appreciate that. Yeah, referencing what you talked about, earlier this year, we passed the American Rescue Plan. It was a $1.9 trillion investment in the country and the American people and cities and counties and states. And it was designed to respond once again to the economic costs of the pandemic. The benefits, I think, both current and future, are kind of hard to overstate. As you saw, you may have seen this morning, the city just came up with a proposal to spend, I think, 240 something million dollars. See Cassie's on the call. She would have a more precise reading on that. But in total, the city got about $380 million. The JCPS got close to $400 million. The state got $2 billion. And these are funds that are truly going to, again, help fill some gaps that were created by the economic problems of the economic costs of the pandemic. The expansion of the child tax credit, which basically meant that anybody who had children up to a certain income level, but I think it was $150,000, everybody who had children got either $250 or $300 a month per child, depending on their age. And by doing that, we pulled almost 50% of the kids in Kentucky who are living in poverty out of poverty, which is quite a feat. The important thing to understand about that, though, is that was temporarily. That certainly didn't pull them out of poverty permanently, and that's what we're working on in this next piece of legislation. Both the American Rescue Plan and the legislation we're working on right now, which we call the Build Back Better Act, are being done through a process called reconciliation. And I'm not going to get into the weeds about it because it's incredibly complicated, but basically it is a process by which we can avoid a filibuster in the Senate, and we can pass with just the 50 Democratic votes plus the vice president's vote. Now, that wouldn't necessarily be the case if any Republican wanted to join with us in helping to pass it, but the Republicans have been adamantly opposed, unanimously opposed to supporting anything that Democrats or the administration have put forward. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. All of those things, excuse me, reconciliation, the way it works is that certain committees are tasked with writing certain provisions in the bill, and then they all send them to me at the budget committee, and I'm chairman of the budget committee. So, and then what we do is make sure that all the language complies with the requirements of reconciliation before we pass it and send it to the Senate. Reconciliation has nothing to do with the House, of course. We pass things with a simple majority. And but because it comes through the Budget Committee, my name is on the bill as the author of the bill. So I'm very proud of that. I managed it through the House, and I will manage this next one through the House as well. And so I'll be responsible. I will be forever known, at least until somebody passes me, as the author of the most spending in the history of the country. So I got that going for me, for better or for worse. So where are we now? If you've been following it, what we have been trying to do is the president put forward during his campaign, and then after he was inaugurated, two plans. One was called the American Jobs Plan. One was called the American Family Plan. Broadly speaking, the American Jobs Plan was an infrastructure bill. This is roads, bridges, broadband, water systems, sewers, and so forth, ports and airports. Then the American Family Plan was what we, at least initially, talked about being human infrastructure. These are the things that are required if the economy is going to function efficiently and that everybody has an opportunity to participate. Things like child care, early childhood education, senior home care, and other things, as well as having some climate change policy initiatives as well. The infrastructure bill passed on a bipartisan basis several months ago in the Senate, and we have it before us. There are many of our members, primarily the Progressive Caucus, who have said they will not vote on the infrastructure bill until the other bill is agreed to, the human infrastructure. And as you may know, that started as a bill that included a lot of things, totaling a cost estimated about $3.5 trillion over 10 years. And that has been whittled down to about in half right now, primarily because of two US senators, Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, I'm sorry. And I will say, I got rather vicious yesterday, vicious for me anyway, in criticizing the two of them. And what I said to a bunch of media, I don't know if anybody's quoted it yet, but what these two people are doing is disrespecting the other 48 Democrats, 48 of their colleagues who have come together, and every one of them is compromised on a number of things, key elements of the proposal. And even Bernie Sanders, who's not been known for his collegiality and his compromising nature, has been phenomenal in this and has worked to make sure we pass the best possible bill and that we got every Democratic vote, because it's a 50-50 split in the Senate. And so to me, I really don't understand what they're thinking, because again, I think they're being very disrespectful from the people to the people who have worked so hard on this, as well as the White House. And we're going to get something passed. It will not be what any of us wants, but that's the case of every bill that we pass here, that it's not everything that everyone wants. But what we are able to pass is going to be of major consequences. When you're talking about being able, even for a limited period of time, I don't know how much time it is yet, but we will help build the child care infrastructure in this country so that virtually every parent has access to affordable quality health care. We'll provide universal pre-kindergarten for 3- and 4-year-olds, which virtually every other industrialized nation already does. So we're working on that. Some very important climate policies. We're fighting to retain the provision to provide paid family and medical leave. This is one of those areas, again, where Joe Manchin, to me, is being morally, economically, and politically irresponsible. He's fought against 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave, which every other country in the world, as far as we can tell, except Swaziland, already has. And he wants to, if we keep it in at all, he wants to cut it to 4 weeks. Children can't even get into childcare until 6 weeks. No childcare system will take them. So I don't know what he's trying to accomplish, but we'll make a start, hopefully, on paid family and medical leave. And every one of these things that we do, if we were to do it by ourselves in a freestanding piece of legislation, would be a major accomplishment for the American people, and I think for the Congress. So we're going to proceed. 1.75 is kind of a trillion is what kind of the number we're working on right now. That is a very substantial amount of money, but remember, that is about 3% of more than we would otherwise spend over the next 10 years. It is 1/4 of what we spend on defense, and we will be helping the lives of tens of millions of Americans. Oh, by the way, we will extend the child tax credit. That's part of the bill. Looks like it's only going to be for 1 year, but hopefully we can work on that next year as well. So that's kind of where we are. You may see some action as early as later this week on the bipartisan bill. If we can get the progressives, if we can come to a solid agreement on the bipartisan, on the Build Back Better Act, the human infrastructure bill, and the progressives will allow us to vote on we'll vote for the infrastructure bill. So, but it's all going to, I think, transpire in the next 10 days or so. And again, then it's our responsibility to make sure the American people understand what we've done and how much benefits they will receive from it. So that's my update. My legislative update, I could give you all sorts of other updates, but I'll stay with legislative. You're muted. You got to unmute.
Well, you do have a few minutes. We allowed you the horn of plenty because we greatly respect what you've gone through all these years and stood up for our community. What, as far as sidebar things that you have interest in, is there anything you'd like to update us on?
Well, you know, one of the things that we're constantly fighting is the impact of the filibuster in the Senate and what it's keeping us from doing. Namely, the most important thing I think is most of us are concerned with is voting rights legislation to make sure that we don't allow the suppression of votes in this country and don't allow legislation at the state level, which would allow state officials to overturn the legitimate outcomes of elections, which some of these states are putting into play. Again, this is, you know, it looks like we're focusing mostly on 2 senators who have refused to alter the filibuster, and they're the same 2 senators. There may be others who don't want to change the filibuster, but you know, so filibuster, just background, there was Senate rule. It's not a law. It's a Senate rule. It can be changed. It's been changed many, many times. That requires 60 votes to move to a final vote. And obviously, we're not getting, there's on most of what we're trying to do, we can't get 10 Republican votes. So, but one of the things that is kind of in the weeds a little bit, but it's important, that one thing we could do is right now, the filibuster does not require that the minority puts up 41 votes out of 100. What it requires is that the majority accumulates 60 votes. So you could have a vote on what we call cloture. You could have a vote that's 59-6. But a lot of Republicans could just stay home, and a 59-6 vote would not move the legislation forward. So what we'd like to do is to force Republicans, because they are in the minority, to put up 41 votes, force them all to go on the record opposing things like voting rights and many other initiatives that we're working on. So that's probably the next most important thing we have to do. The final thing is we have to raise the debt limit or abolish the debt limit. We voted a few weeks ago to increase the debt limit by a small amount to get us through December 3rd. So we're going to have to fight that battle again. Republicans, curiously, and in my opinion, recklessly, have said, well, we know that we can't default on the federal debt, that we've got to pay our bills, that the United States has never defaulted on our debt. So we know it has to be done. We're just not going to provide any votes to do it. And those are the words straight out of Mitch McConnell's mouth, despite the fact that the debt we continue to accrue this year, next year, the year after, partially is due to the tax cuts that the Republicans passed in 2017 without any Democratic votes. So this year, that's about $250 billion. Next year, it's again about $250 billion. The following year, it's about 220. So what they're saying is we know we drove up the debt, and we're going to have to raise the debt ceiling to accommodate the debt that we put on the American people, but we're not going to vote to do it, which is very, very sad. But that's a battle we have to fight as well, and we may have to do it through the same process of reconciliation, and we'll see how that goes. But that's a critical thing that has to be done by December 3rd.
I cannot thank you enough. Are there any questions from our audience today? And again, we're doing a hybrid meeting, so we are Zooming as well as in person. All right. Well, they feel that you've explained this position extremely well.
Or confused everybody.
There's great applause going on, John. I know if you can't hear it, great applause, great applause.
Thanks. Well, I'm sorry we're not meeting in the evening where we can share bourbon and other libations, but maybe next year we can do that for my swan song.
Well, we are always grateful for your time and consideration, and consider that an appointment to be met. We'll guarantee.
There was a question on redistricting I just saw. I appeared in the chat. I can make a quick comment on it. As far as I can tell, there was a proposal that really came out of a national Republican organization. It didn't come out of the General Assembly to split Louisville into 3 districts. It would have put part of the western part of Louisville into the 2nd, would have put more of the eastern part in the 4th, and then would have created a new district that basically took the middle of town from the river and went all the way to the Tennessee border, which would have been disastrous for Louisville, because the Louisville would not have been the focal point of any of the people representing it. So Mitch was strongly opposed to that, as were most of the Republican members of the House. And I think I'm pretty sure that the General Assembly's backed off that entirely. The most current reading I have in terms of the congressional redistricting as opposed to state House and Senate seats is that we would have to pick up, we being the 3rd district, about 4 precincts, which would be about 8,000 voters, and which would make the district a little bit more Republican. It wouldn't dramatically change the partisan tilt. But so there'd be, looks like minimal impact and changes on the district. And that's good. I mean, I think you really are fearful for a community that for all of modern history has had a logical district. We basically had Jefferson County, and Jefferson County perfectly fit the size of the congressional district. So you didn't have multiple people representing the school system or U of L or city government and so forth, and you didn't have their attention drawn to other areas. And I'm glad that that's going to be preserved. So that's my update on that.
Wonderful, and cannot thank you enough. Are there, before we move along, is there any other questions for John?
I have a few minutes.
Is anything coming in on the screen?
Notice a lot of people thank you.
Well, John, there's so many kudos coming across the screen. I think that they've left from curiosity to great gratitude.
Yeah.
And again, you cannot hear all the applause that's going on.
That's very, I appreciate that very much. And, I've always enjoyed being conversations with this group. And, I grew up in the Highlands. my son and daughter-in-law and grandson live in the Highlands, and it's a special place in my heart for all of you. So thanks so much, and sure I'll see you around town, and hopefully we can get together again next year.
I look forward to it, and thank you again.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Take care.
Well, cannot thank you all. Yeah, I'm on. Cannot thank you all enough for joining in with John, and it did change our meeting setup to accommodate him. And following John, since the trickle-down theory, Cassie, how about a few updates from you, what's going on, and the excitement of District 8?
Yeah, well, thank you all for having me. I misread the email and thought that because the congressman was attending virtually, we were all attending virtually. So apologies for not being there in person. But yeah, I would say the biggest news that we have on Metro Council is what the congressman alluded to, which is that we have a proposal for how we will spend our American Rescue Plan dollars. And so I was just going to quickly run through the sort of top line numbers on that. There is proposed $78 million for public safety that runs from funding the Hilliard Heinz study suggested reforms around creating a department of accountability, creating new training programs, largely civilian positions involved in training, accountability, transparency, community relations, outreach, a lot of stuff like that, as well as that includes $15 million for violence deterrence and prevention programs, as well as another $15 million focused on youth and the unique needs of youth. So sort of some things going towards LMPD, some things going towards non-police violence strategies in that number. It includes $100 million for homelessness and affordable housing, including money for things like actually building affordable housing units. It includes over $30 million for permanent supportive housing, which I think I've spoken to you all about, which is the idea of having a caseworker on site for people who have mental health needs or maybe substance use disorder, people who might actually need more support on site in their housing in order to be able to successfully stay in their housing. It also includes money for down payment assistance programs as well as home repair programs. There is money for premium pay to the essential workers that showed up during the pandemic. And that's something that JCPS had spent its money on as well. And something that the state's looking at is sort of those frontline workers who put themselves at risk would receive bonuses for doing that. And finally, there's also some recommendations around collaborations with JCPS and some money sort of set aside to help identify programs to help kids who are at risk. If this passes as it's written, and I expect that there certainly will be changes to it, that would leave about somewhere between $100 million and $80 million of money that's left to be appropriated. In my mind, there are two major categories that we haven't addressed yet. One is childcare. So Congressman Yarmuth talked to you a lot about what the federal government is doing to support childcare infrastructure, hopefully from a federal government level. The other sort of locally, there are some gaps that we would need to be able to plug to fully take advantage of that federal money. So a lot of it is, we'll say, if you pay all of your childcare workers an average of $13 an hour, then we will kick in a 20% pay raise to help you recruit and retain staff. Well, right now, a lot of our centers don't have the resources to pay anyone $13 an hour. And so if we could help give them some support to be able to qualify for some of those payments, that would be a helpful thing. Additionally, a lot of them have infrastructure needs to be able to raise their quality ratings and be able to do better on assessments and be able to qualify for some of these federal and state dollars that might be coming down the pipeline. The other area that we haven't spent money on yet is workforce training. A lot of people think that investing in upskilling folks to take advantage of more high wage jobs would be a great use of this money. And that is something that is not in this package, but I think a lot of people are hoping that we will get to soon and possibly even amend this current package to consider. So that's sort of the big news out of Metro Council. Of course, we are also going through redistricting right now. There is a meeting tonight around redistricting and the proposed Metro Council changes. The big one I'm concerned about in District 8, and I know I've heard from some of you all as well, is right now so just so you know, every district is moving south and east. That is by virtue of the fact that we've lost a lot of population in West Louisville over recent years. And you have to, under the Voting Rights Act, preserve the majority minority districts, so the historically Black districts, which are 1 through 6. To comply with that federal law, that means every other district has to move south and east. And of course, right at the edge of our south and east boundary is the Tyler Park neighborhood. It was sort of our jutting off, the most south, the most eastern part. So the new proposal, originally, as it came out, it split the district pretty much right down the park, with half going to 10 and half going to 8. We've been working with some folks to at least be able to get all of the park proper back into District 8. So everything sort of from Barrett over to Eastern Parkway, all the way over to Broadway would now stay in District 8, but anything on the other side of Barrett would go to District 10. Looking at the numbers, just because of the trends, I don't know that there's a lot of wiggle room to change it beyond that, primarily because there's a cascade effect. So if you sort of start moving the numbers, eventually it keeps creating problems for all of the other districts. And they've played a whole bunch of jigsaw pieces around, and we're still trying to work on solutions, but there's not one readily available right now. And so with that, I'll stop there and see if there are any questions about anything. Would love to hear any comments about the Community Ambassador Program and how that's going, if you all have noticed a difference, and happy to chat about whatever's on your mind. Aaron, you're muted.
You're stirring up great interest. The area, I don't know, I've seen the teams out. It's a nice improvement to see some action up and down Bardstown Road during daytime hours. There's, in following up with some of the other things you've mentioned, you are having a meeting involving community interest coming up in the near future.
Yes. Well, so there's a meeting on Friday, November 3rd for groups that are actively doing work along Bardstown Road to talk about all of the different projects that everyone is doing. Aaron will be attending on behalf of Highlands Commerce Guild, as well as folks from the newly formed Friends of Bardstown Road, LMPD, Louisville, a lot of sort of different stakeholders, KYTC around the road improvements. If you are with an organization that is doing active work on Bardstown Road and would like to send a representative, please let me know. We're trying to limit it to just one representative per organization, although any organization is welcome, primarily to keep it to where we can have a real discussion. It's sort of a working meeting. A couple of other things, we're going to have a community meeting November 10th, to discuss the Bardstown Road Overlay District process, educate the community, get feedback on how that's going. I invite you all to come to that. And there is also a work group that's working on term rental recommendations, primarily around these like repeat bad actors. A lot of the situation that we're finding is that people will form multiple corporations to own multiple short-term rental. They might have fines and non-compliance. They won't register one. But then, they'll sort of start another corporation, not register it. And we're having trouble as a city, if you are a bad actor who is actively facing enforcement action because you knowingly failed to comply with existing rules, you shouldn't be able to go and just keep doing it just by changing your name. So we're looking at some ways to address that issue in the short-term rental ordinance.
Cannot thank you enough. There is a lot going on, and I think that I almost got numb on me here. Just so much new things happening, but good opportunities, and I believe we are progressing in the right direction. Well, because of the craziness of the moment, we're going to take a break from the normal meeting and have everyone introduce themselves. I think it's only fair that we maintain our standards. We just had to flex because of the schedule. So I will start on the right. If you would, please stand up, introduce yourself, and go for it.
Morning, I'm David Nicholson, currently your circuit court clerk here. And I just want to take a minute to thank you for having
Aaron, you're muted.
God bless America.
This is David Nicholson speaking. Just commenting on thanking you for the fine job you do representing all your businesses here. And having been one of the inaugural members on the Bardstown Road Aglow, having a florist shop here. And then also having served on the 5th District Police Advisory Board for a number of years. Simply, I know we got a lot of introductions, but I would encourage you to look at Nicholson for Mayor website. I am running one of the candidates for Mayor. So you'll hear a lot more about that as we approach May 17th. But I see some familiar faces here this morning. I just wanted to come by and say thank you, though, for what you do for our community. You'll hear a lot about neighborhoods. That's where it starts. And that's how we begin to really address our public safety. Heard from good people. I do serve on the National Association of Counties. Very proud that our board, for the first time in the history of federal allocations, got monies into counties. It saved 3 of our 120 counties, this American recovery monies. So it helped the entire Commonwealth, and I am very proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Mershon. I'm a former employee of David Nicholson and a current volunteer for Nicholson for Mayor. So it says a lot if you work for someone and you still like them and want to promote them. I serve on the board of my neighborhood association, Pleasant Hill Community Council. We work closely with FABA. I know how important this organization is to these neighborhoods because FABA is so important to our neighborhood. So thank you for all the great work you all do.
Good morning. My name is Nick Morris. I'm the owner of the Safety and Security Store, and I am on the Highland Commerce Guild Board.
Good morning, my name is Kadeem Gover. I'm the CEO of Golem Security Services, and we run private security forces here in the Highlands as well as threat assessment. Brendan Holmes with Golem Security, basically the guy in the background that does all the tech and makes sure that all the equipment is up and running and working properly, and does any type of electronic equipment that we have as well.
The man behind the curtain.
Right? Yeah.
Good morning, I'm Deanna O'Daniel of Self-Seek Hypnosis. I work mostly in addictive problems like smoking and quitting.
Jeff Myers, I'm a realtor with Vantage Realty, and I'm with I'm the board and the treasurer.
Mark Abrams, board member, Highland Commerce Guild.
Hi, I'm Nancy Chase, and I'm the executive director of the National Council, a Jewish food and Louisville section. We own and operate the Near Relief Shop in City Hall, and I'm also a Highlands County board member.
Good morning, Victor Rowe with PNC Bank.
Good morning, Botkins. I've lived in the Highland years, mostly as a renter, but also as a homeowner. I own Parkside Bikes, co-own Parkside Bikes, and also co-own Bellwether.
I'm Amy Christopher, I'm with the Highland Commerce Guild, and I'm a board member as well.
I cannot thank the board members enough for their generosity of their time, treasure, and talent. As being our annual meeting, one person who has always been under the radar but had his hands in the cleanup of the Highlands is Mark Abrams. He was the creator of the graffiti program, and he continues to help guide us in making sure that Ralph Weeble is the graffiti master, and they just whoop it down. Cannot thank you guys enough. The let's see. I believe, Tim, we need you to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Aaron and everyone else. Good to be here. Tim Meyer over at Highland Middle School. Just want to say thanks. Every time I reach out for some assistance here, folks are very happy to help us out in any way. And that includes the Congressman, John Yarmuth. He's always been a friend to Highland. So I feel like we're among friends here this morning. Thank you, guys.
Is there anyone else in there? Rhonda? Help me, Rhonda.
Help me, Rhonda. Hey, Aaron, my name is Rhonda Poston. I'm with Anytime Waste Systems. We have all the yellow dumpsters you see going in all through the Highlands, and we're locally owned. So I want to be your garbage lady.
All right. She talks trash. Is everybody good? No. Hey, we're here for a good time. All right. Well, another exciting fact is that Ben Botkins has agreed to come over today and give us a little highlights of what he's been doing with the old ballet building and the center, the firemen's police station center at 1300 Bardstown Road, known as the Bellwether. Come on up.
All right, where am I at?
And it's on. I didn't mute you. It's not my fault.
I've done Zoom presentations and I've done in person, but I've never done hybrid. So this will be a little twitchy, but so yeah, Aaron, thanks for having me. Truly. I mean, how long has Highland Commerce Guild been around?
1974.
Okay. So I was -7 when the Highland Commerce Guild started and put in efforts on Bardstown Road in the greater area. So truly appreciate it and appreciate the invite to be here to speak with everyone. I stared at the buildings on the corner of Bardstown and Rosewood, 1300 and 1306 for years on Heine Brothers patio. It was like, someone should do something with those amazing buildings. Like, why are they just sitting there? And year after year, I became more and more interested in when the storage facility fell through, we swept in and were able to strike a deal to get those buildings and to preserve them. So first and foremost, it was about making sure they got a proper historic preservation, and we are going through the National Historic Registry of Places on both buildings. So you have the 1306 Bardstown Road was the Louisville Police Department Highland Station, which is built in 1909, and then the bigger building on the corner, the big dark red brick building, was purpose built as the Bell South Switching Board Station in 1917. They are incredible buildings. We had a great foundation to work with. It took us much longer to get them done, and we're still working on them. But we worked kind of backward. We knew we wanted to save the buildings, and then we thought, what's the best possible use for these buildings in terms of bringing people to the corridor, supporting our friends' businesses, Discoveries, Casito, Heine Brothers, Carmichael's. You know, how do we bring more people to their doors, and creating a hotel, which is a business model we were familiar with, was the best way to do that. We can bring 50 people a day to go and support these businesses and see these beautiful buildings and go to our parks and really get to share the neighborhood that we're raising our family in. That's the big idea with the Bellwether. Our architect lives in Tyler Park. He very much cares about the buildings and looked at these from a preservation perspective first and foremost. Our restaurateur partner lives in the Tyler Park neighborhood. And we live just across the road in the Triangle. So this is a hyper-local, small group of stakeholders and our partners as well that live in the Triangle. This is the small group of stakeholders in the community that wanted to do something special in this corner and really set a standard for what historic preservation could look like. So that's what it is that we're doing. We opened most of the hotel opened last weekend, and we've had our first guests, and it's been very exciting and delightful week, and there'll be more rooms opening up soon, and the restaurant is a work in progress. There's supply chain issues and all kinds of things as you can imagine. So we're working very hard and as fast as we can to get the restaurant open. We're gonna have a massive outdoor patio. There will be a bar, but nothing late night. I promised everyone I would never do any projects that involved anything past midnight ever. So I'm gonna keep my word on that. I don't think it's fitting really in that particular part of the neighborhood, but. So it is a self-check-in hotels. People are like, well, what does that mean? Think of any VRBO or any Airbnb that you've gone and stayed in. You pull up to the beach, you type in your code, you walk into your condo or your beach house, and that's yours for the day, the week, the month. This is all this is. This is a 20-room version of that. We've soundproofed the walls. We built them to actually a higher acoustical dampening rating than a traditional hotel. There are lots of security measures, lots of security lighting. You'll get an individual access code. The moment that your reservation, you can check in. You'll get that code to your phone. You can check in. That's personalized to you, and it expires the moment that your reservation expires. That's really it. We're going to have bikes on site once bicycles become available again for guests to ride around on and go check out the parks. But ultimately, the Bellwether is just part of what I really care about, which is Bardstown Road, and something that I opened Parkside Bikes 13 years ago, and that really taught me community. And I got to meet Elizabeth Gazito and all these people that I had and such a high reverence for, and it really made me feel a part of the community and made me want to do my part to improve it as best I can. So the Bellwether is essentially saying thank you for everything you've done to support us through the years. This is us putting our time, talent, and treasure into these historic buildings to make sure they get preserved and activated in what we believe is the absolute best possible way that's the most beneficial to the greater neighborhood. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, go ahead.
No question.
Yeah.
Ben, can you talk a little bit more about the restaurant concept and when it will open?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've told most of the press that it's opening, early, in the winter. We're going to do everything we can to get it done as quickly as possible. Certainly, there's always Derby that's looming for everyone. It's like if it all goes wrong, we just have to make sure we're open in the spring. So, but the restaurant is, it's a woman that moved here from Washington, D.C. owns another restaurant in the Butchertown neighborhood. And she's a great operator and a great executor. And so she's going to do something extremely beautiful to the space. We're going to work with her to do, but it's going to be everything from salads to a fried chicken sandwich and everything in between, but really well done, but approachable in price. So this isn't going to be anything too upscale or unapproachable. Everything we're doing is, to blend in with the neighborhood as well as anyone that's visiting the corridor.
Where did the name come from?
Yeah, there's a lot with the name. So it was the Bell South building. So that makes the first part of it pretty easy. We love the name of the street that we're on, Rosewood. I think it's a beautiful name. The road behind it's Moss Rose, and then there's Bellwood. And so Bellwether has a similar cadence to those roads. But also Bellwether means to lead or be part of a positive change. And that's what we're hoping this redevelopment is get more people to come. There are a lot of buildings sitting vacant or crumbling into the sidewalk, a lot. And we hope that this sets an example and shows, hey, join us, come do this. It's viable, it's worthwhile. So that's part of where the name comes in.
What future plans? You don't sit still.
There's no
moss.
No moss. So I'm co-founder of a group called Friends of Bardstown Road, and it is specifically just about Bardstown Road. And I've spent 7 years talking to thousands of neighbors, going to other cities, measuring sidewalks, measuring roads, meeting with urban planners, reading books, listening to podcasts, what makes a vibrant, great commercial corridor. And hands down, if you go to Cincinnati, New Albany, Jeffersonville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, any of our peer cities, the areas that prioritize the pedestrian and walkability are the ones who are winning, period. I love cars. I have a car. There's absolutely a place for cars on Bardstown Road. We need to have lanes that have through traffic. We need to have parking on Bardstown Road. But if anyone here has any griefs with the way Bardstown Road currently is, I promise if we rewind and start by doing tree plantings, curb extensions where we can to calm things down and make it less of a 4-lane highway racetrack, is the sooner that all the businesses that we all love and all fighting for will thrive again and thrive in a way that they never have. So that's what our group is about. Point blank, very one thing, walkability. That is the North Star. And that's what we're going to push to work for and with. The Bardstown Road Aglow event is a good example. You get tons of people out walking. Everyone feels safe in numbers. You could track sales receipts for a lot of these businesses. They go through the roof. Cyclovia is another example, a little more extreme because there's no cars at all. But when you talk to many of the restaurants, coffee shops, cafes, of what their businesses do on Cyclovia, it's a substantial increase in business because people feel safe to be out and get out on the road in numbers. So we're not advocating to close the road at all. I like cars. There's a place for cars, but we have to prioritize, make this a place for families, make this a place for seniors, not just a place to come and be loud and drive fast and party hard. We need a better balance, and that's what we're aiming to do and work for. That's it. But I'm happy to answer anything at all.
I just check online.
Yeah, of course.
Just someone saying it's just beautiful.
Thank you very much. Well, if anyone wants a tour, we've done over 400 tours in 2 weeks. So, the branding, I have it in my pocket. It's the branding is neighborhood, the Bellwether, Louisville, Kentucky neighborhood hotel. So we want to accommodate the friends and family of neighbors as well as anyone else who is coming to check out Bourbon or the area. So it is your hotel. We want to show it to you, and I'm happy to give tours anytime. And Aaron we can set up a way to contact me and wants a tour.
Wonderful.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank
Really
you,
appreciate
sir.
it. Yeah.
Welcome. No, it's always interesting how you run across people through trial and tribulation. And I think that's how Ben and I actually met. And I must say that he's a very persuasive individual. And with it, actually some common sense that we face. So I look forward, he and I are going to be involved in a series of meetings again. We actually had served together on an Improv 2 board to talk with the mayor's office about some activities. And from that, several things have trickled down into what I think is a better direction. I do see more people working together. One thing that we need to do, because this is our annual meeting, is our board. And once a year, we do gather and reiterate the board members and let you all pass upon the blessings or the curses. So our current board members are I'm Aaron Gavan as the president, Nick Morris is the vice president, Jeff Myers is our treasurer, Mark Abrams is head of the graffiti abatement program, Nancy Kazin is again a leader in her own right. A lot of people don't realize for 65 years at Nearly News Shop, which is one of her current pre-evs. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. As well as being a leader of the Jewish League of Women. I hope I got that all in there at once. One of our board members, she's filling in. We still want to let people know that Park Community is taking applications, as well as the Nearly News Shop. They're taking applications. And so people, if someone does have job openings, we do post it on our site if they send it to us. But Adema Perez, she, because of her being a manager, her staff didn't come through in plenty numbers. Therefore, she has on the front line. But we cannot thank her enough for putting up with the craziness. Then Tom Sulfa, who's been here, long-term member as well, but he also, you may know him from the Coffee News or the Highlands Map. So that is our current board. We represent a lot of free time, and a lot of energy, and a lot of focus. So do we have a motion to accept our board? Mark, thank you. And do we have a second? Right. Is there any discussion? And we are open for board members. If you think we're doing too good, come on down. If you think we're doing bad, show up and we'll put you to work. The motion carries. I thank you for that mechanics requirement. In coming towards one exciting item was mentioned was the 36th year of the Bardstown Road Aglow. And with that, the activity level we feel is going up. It will be higher than last year. Regardless of what level of alert we're put on, we deem ourselves to be COVID friendly. So we are encouraging the use of the mask. The business owners control the number of people in the business. Please expect to spend a little time outdoors waiting in line because the numbers in the shops will be limited. We encourage the use of buying gift cards. We believe that the pickup option is going to be available through many retail as well as dining establishments. Outdoor dining will be exemplified. Last year, I am happy to say several of our dining establishments had not had their outside areas full, completely full, except on Bardstown Road Aglow. And they thanked us for that because the food activity level, I was totally amazed. As it was a little cooler. This year's a little warmer. So we do expect more people, a little bit more caution. We do have sign up online. We do have the sign up here in hand. We're happy to come by to help you. Some of you prefer one-on-one sign up, and along with that, anyone signing up on the bronze level, you're going to have a lot of advertisement through Leo, the public media. There's guest spots with the TV stations, and there's just going to be a lot of fun, but a lot of effort. To join the Bardstown Road Aglow is $50 per business. Our membership is $100, and again, some of them have been so kind to pay next year's membership along with the Aglow sign up. I've had some businesses say, well, they come no matter what. And I said, this is true, but it's how they come. We do temper the crowd, and last year I think proved a point. We were very safe, very aware, had very little disruption given the number of people that came. So we do encourage you all to give us a call for participation. We do look at the opportunities. We do have the trolley online this year. We will have, as we did last year, some music based on location and weather. And we will give you postings as it comes up. But we are here to work with you, and you'll be seeing us going door to door, handing out the signups and gathering additional information. Now, is there any questions or thoughts or suggestions for setting up Bardstown Road Aglow? Because it is a multi-level development. This is our official kickoff. We plan to be ready to scale back if our government warrants warning, but currently we plan to have a very pleasant Bardstown Road Aglow 2021. Now, the more exciting thing is today we have Nick Morris is doing a drawing or organized our drawing. And we do have some excitements of a $25 gift certificate. Tell us about that.
Yes, we have a $25 gift certificate to a new business that's going to be opening in the Highlands here. It should be within the next month or so. It's called Darlings, Darlings. It's a kind of a unique cocktail bar that's gin focused. So I don't think we're going to specialize too much in bourbon. We're going to the clear liquid. But anyway, it's located down in the Deer Park shops. So we do have a $25 gift certificate for that.
Yes.
And Aaron, if you want to arbitrarily, randomly pick a number, I have a number associated with it. We won't hear and online as well. So
All
call
right.
out a number and I'll tell you who it is.
Between 1 and
1 and 18.
all right. Well, 18 is legal. So for a drawing of a card of some, hopefully, number 18 is over 21.
Okay. I'm sure he is. It's Ray Branch.
All right, Ray. I know you're in there, you party man. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. But don't stop there. Because of our annual meeting, we do have table displays. They're live in the buckets. And we do have a little novelty here that I have to honestly say I have had to laugh over. And they're motion detectors. And so we do have, now you know why I turned them off, because I figured they would be too happy. So we have 6 arrangements and each one has a very happy witch and a very stinky feet ghost. So let's do a drawing for 6 of those.
Start picking numbers out of the cup there and I'll tell you who the winner is.
All right.
You'll make me bad. Number 6.
Number 6 is Nancy.
Yay! Number 8.
Number 8 is Theo Daniel.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Mark Abrams.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Tom's circle. He's not here, but we'll get to him.
Yes. Number 1, and I think this is going to number 11.
Number 11 is Melissa.
Honor our veterans.
Yes. Okay.
Number 9.
Number 9 is Amy.
Oh, yeah, right. I think we had one turn back here.
Yeah, Aaron is a guest. I'd like it to go to someone in the guild.
All
I'm grateful, but.
right. Number 2.
Number 2, you do your own number.
I wanted to go back to the member.
Yes,
Thank you.
That's
That really looked bad if I, did that. Let's try number 7.
Number 7 is Jeff Meyer.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Well, I cannot thank you all enough. And again, there is some candy on the table, so please grab a few things here. For our viewing guest, you should have been here, but thank you for tuning in. Aaron Gavan signing off. Thank you so much, and a happy, safe Halloween.